Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 584. I'm Bryan Cohen from Best Page Forward, joined by intrepid romance author Elena Johnson, who has written so many books, has a great Facebook group, Indie Inspiration with Elena Johnson. I'm so glad you're here, Elena.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yay, good. So last week we covered so many wonderful things. We touched on the fear that a lot of authors had. You mentioned the comparisonitis. How do you deal with not comparing yourself to the next big author that you could compare yourself to and say, well, I'm not as good as so and so?
Honestly, it's avoidant for me. I'm an avoidant personality,
Uh
so
huh.
I just don't go look at what they're doing. Like I don't watch their books when they launch. I might get it a week later and read it and be like, yeah, it's a great book. I write great books too, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
I just don't worry so much about like the metrics of things. I used to pay a lot of attention to those and now I don't. And so it's just very freeing to release yourself of having to do that, to watch all the time.
I love that. Yeah, I think that the more you disconnect, sometimes the more you can do to reach readers. It feels like you have to stay connected to everything, but if you disconnect, you can focus better, which allows you to serve readers better
Yep.
and yourself better, of course.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, definitely everybody go check out author elenajohnson.com to get some great books. I have my new journal, Best Version of Your Heart. Go check that out for some mental strength, growth. And we had a question a couple weeks ago on the show. Do you feel like having a virtual assistant or VA between readers and the author diminishes the experience? Roland Denzel said, depends on what the VA does and how they do it. If they answer with simple thank yous as if they were the author and also pass along emails that they think need the actual author to answer, then I think it can be great. Carolyn Young says, I think having a VA is smart. A VA can add value, take stress off the author, and free up more time to write and publish more stories for readers to enjoy. And Eric Stevens said, no, I don't believe so. Anything that helps the author produce more words is a valuable asset. Elena, what is your opinion on virtual assistants?
Yeah, I'm all in on the virtual assistant. I kind of agree with Eric. Anything that helps take things off your plate, then it can be an asset. And you can train them to kind of do what you want. So if they know your business really well, they can answer emails as if they're you. And it's as long as, yeah, if there's something super concerning, maybe that needs to be forwarded. But I just think anything that can get stuff off my plate so that all I'm thinking about is books and high level marketing decisions. That's all I do. I don't do other things. I only do $500 an hour tasks.
Ooh, yes. I love it. I love it. Great answer, and great answer from everybody who wrote in. Remember, we may read your answer on the show, so definitely make sure to answer those at the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group. We're going into the top story of the week, profitable print on demand. Quote, for many authors, using Ingram Spark feels like a necessity, says author David Wogan for janefriedman.com. But considering shrinking profit margins and the complexity of selling via wholesale, I believe it's time to step back and reevaluate our motivations and challenge our assumptions. End quote. Yes, Ingram Spark offers many of the features you need to feel like you're competing with traditional publishers and in an affordable way. But are those features necessary for how most self-published authors sell print books? Quote, perhaps the most important reason to use Ingram Spark is so you can offer wholesale pricing to bookstores, says Wogan. Yet, the odds of self-published and even small press books being stocked in stores are exceptionally small, end quote. Even if you do make it into some stores, the money you make at the wholesale discount required could mean cutting your royalties in half, even on Amazon where you sell most of your books. Quote, instead of assuming or hoping a bookstore will stock your book, visit local stores and ask them about selling your book, suggests the author. Many independent stores will sell on consignment, which you supply via author copies, not wholesale discounts. Other common reasons are the belief that you need to offer a print pre-order or a hardcover version, but those are often nice to haves versus necessities. Finally, there's a myth that Ingram Spark offers the best print on demand quality, but it's just that, a myth. Quote, in 15 years of managing the publication of hundreds of print books printed by both Ingram Spark and Amazon KDP, we've seen nothing to indicate one produces consistently better quality than the other, says Wogan. For self-published authors, it's important to be realistic about your printing and distribution needs. Ingram Spark can be a valuable tool and more powerful than KDP when needed, but its use won't necessarily lead to more sales or profits. Elena, I've talked to authors in a bind who needed to get books from KDP. Some of them turned out beat up. I've talked to authors who needed books in a bind, got them from Ingram Spark. They were beat up or they were misprinted. I mean, there's no one that's going to do this perfect all the time. What did you think about what Wogan had to say here?
I think it's really smart, actually. As you were reading it, I was like, "Oh yeah, I agree. I agree with that too." I think for me, I use it as just like it's another way to sell print books,
Right.
right? And it's not a massive way, although for some authors it probably is. But for me, it's just like it's not that hard to put them up there too, because then I
Yeah.
just get a little bit of money throughout the year, right? But it is what he says about the quality is absolutely true. I have a special edition with a forced printed edge, meaning the edge prints, it's not sprayed.
Yeah.
It's a print on edge. And I got some from KDP and I got some from Ingram Spark. And the ones at KDP are probably twice as dark on the edge than from Ingram Spark.
Interesting.
And the Ingram Spark ones are bigger and they weigh more. And so they cost me more to ship. Like
Huh.
bigger meaning like the paper is thicker,
Right.
right?
So
So
the
like
spine will be wider. Yeah.
yes, and so the book is just weighs more. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? I would prefer the book to be less than a pound, which the KDP ones are. The Ingram Spark ones are not. And
Hmm.
so I order from KDP for those because they just are better overall. So I do think if you're going to be considering both, you can order from both and see how they do in terms of that kind of stuff. But I think it's probably true. If you're not on Ingram Spark, it's probably not, a death knell for your career.
Right. I've got an author that I work with from time to time who sells many print books. They only sell print books because they're more in journal form. And
Mhm.
they sell some from Ingram, but they had their success through TikTok Shop. And so they actually sell vastly more through TikTok Shop. And they
Mhm.
use a third party printer for that because they have a place that'll print and ship it, unlike Ingram Spark. And so we're living in a really interesting world with print. We've got the foil edges, we've got the sprayed stuff, we've got things. And Ingram is not the only game in town anymore when it comes to the print on demand things outside of KDP. And so we've got interesting things afoot here in 2025. Elena, do you feel like there are common misconceptions that self-published authors have when they are getting their print books together?
Um, I don't know. I think maybe thinking people won't want that. I think that's one of my biggest things is I don't
Mm,
sell a lot in print. Romance for me is typically more digital. My readers are
right,
older. I'm like they're downsizing, right? So a lot of
right.
them will tell me, "Oh, I don't read print." And then of course there's always readers who are like, "All I read is print." So it's not like, it's everybody. But I think sometimes we tell ourselves, well, I have to be in print and I have to be in large print and I have to have every single format for every single person. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think you have to decide for your genre, your books, your readers, your budget, your resources of time and energy. Can you put together a print book? If so, it's probably worthwhile because it is another format, it's another avenue that you can just, it's another arm of income coming in that you can talk about and
Right,
offer to people.
right.
But I don't think it's a deal breaker. And I don't think that you have to have everything special all the time. Some people will just read a regular book too. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, in the world we live in now, if it's not new cover, and I mean I do that too, new everything, then we feel like it's not special enough. And really it's not about, I mean, I do think the outward package sells it, but maybe you could spend some of your energy like writing a really good book, your next really amazing bestseller.
I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
You've
So
got a question for me.
yeah. How and when would an author use both KDP and Ingram Spark for their print distribution?
Most authors, I think, could probably get away with just KDP for saving steps and saving money. And I'm sorry, any Ingram listeners out here, but I think most people could probably avoid it. But let's say you sell at events. Let's say you need stock from time to time. Unfortunately, KDP Print is not reliable enough that it will always send you stock on time and intact. There have definitely been times where you hear about the glue not being on quite right or it being beat up in the mail. And so, if you are going to events a lot, it is helpful to have other options. It is helpful to be able to order from Ingram. Ingram is usually not the only option, though. If you sell a lot of books, a lot of people will go overseas and they will have printing shipped to them on a pallet, on a boat that will eventually make it to wherever you put your books. For a lot of people, it's the garage.
Mhm.
So if you are kind of in that middle ground, though, you are selling books regularly to people, handing them books, you may want to consider Ingram Spark. But if you are mostly selling ebooks, you don't go to events, you don't have any reason to ship anything, then probably you're going to be good with just KDP.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Yep.
lightning round 2, Elena. Are you ready for another, which could be a very similar lightning sound?
I totally forgot I had to make a new lightning sound.
I know, it's okay.
Let's do ka-chow.
Ooh, I like that. That was very Cars. We're very
Very
happy with that. Yeah. So, Elena, what processes could more authors automate that would make their lives easier?
Oh man, this is so hard. I wish I could automate everything.
I
And
know.
I am sort of working on automating a lot of things, but
Yeah.
I think the two that automatically come to mind are social media and newsletters. Uh,
Mm.
I think you can batch those, you can automate those, you can recycle stuff.
Mm.
Um, and
Mm-hmm.
one tip that I have that I'm only doing this year, one of my goals this year with my assistant was to create evergreen content for every series and most books within the series in the first 6 months of the year. So we've been working on that because then we can automate. We don't have
Yes.
to write new content. We don't have to come up with new graphics. We can just recycle and reuse because we have so much that we have used over time that I'm just not using. I just was making more, making more, making more. So I think as you're doing social media graphics, social media posts, and newsletters, keep all of that in a central location
Mm.
and pull from it in the future because then it's automated. You don't have to come, you're not a content creator. Like, I don't want to be a content creator. Like when I watch reality TV shows and I see people say they're content creators, I like cringe. I'm like, I don't know how you do that. So recycle stuff. You don't have to create new all the time in social media and newsletter content. And I think if we could automate those more and batch them more, schedule them all out, then your life is so much easier. It's work done once, and then you don't have to do it again.
I love that. Yeah. The word recycle happens very often with our company, recycling old emails, recycling old webinars, because why create it twice if you don't
Why
have to?
create it twice?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question for you.
Ready.
What is the difference between delegating a task and abdicating a task?
So, my wonderful listeners, getting a virtual assistant on its own is not necessarily enough. You can't just assume they are going to do what you want them to do perfectly on the first try. But a lot of authors say, well, I had this terrible experience. I gave them this thing and then they didn't do it and it was awful. And that may be because you abdicated the task, just gave it to them without instruction and without context and assuming they were going to be perfect from the get-go, rather than delegating it, which might mean showing them how you do it either over your shoulder or with a Loom video. It might mean writing out a standard operating procedure for that task. It might mean showing them a Loom video and having them write out a standard operating procedure and correcting them where they are wrong. And my company, we've done a lot with our hiring processes to make sure that they're actually doing some tasks in the hiring process so we know that they can do tasks. But in general, you need to work harder when you first hire someone than you did when you were doing it on your own, but it's so that you can work easier later. And you are only going to be able to work easier later if you delegate rather than abdicate.
Yes, 100%.
It was tough lessons learned to get to that point, but we're here now.
We're here.
Um, we're here now. Elena, you've spoken highly of participating in a mastermind group. What should authors look for when trying to find a group of like-minded people that can help them?
Wow, there's a lot going on with this question too, but I think the first thing you should do is look outside your genre. Most of my
Mm,
mastermind groups are not with clean romance authors.
mm,
They're with other authors in other genres because they do things differently than I do. They have different readerships, they have different experiences, they attend different events, and they can bring all of that knowledge back. And I can go, okay, I'm going to take everything they said. Can I adapt this to myself first, personality wise, to my genre, and to my readers? And if I'm only talking with people in my own genre, then you just become like talking in like an echo chamber.
right.
Everybody has the same experience. Mastermind should have people with different experiences. So you want people in different genres who are doing different things. I always also try to align myself with people who kind of push the box a little bit, are trying
Right.
different things, not just waiting for someone else to be the sort of trailblazer. And I'm always looking for people who are doing better than me. So
Yeah.
I want to be surrounded by people who are doing awesome things, thinking outside the box in a different genre and succeeding there. And I try to align myself with those people, think about how I can take what they're doing and adapt it to my own life, my own personality, my own budget, my genre, and if I can get my readers to respond in a similar way. And if I can't, then I go, that super works well for you in Mafia. Awesome. I'm not going to take that into my Christian romance, right? So and then you can make decisions, but at least you're out there getting the ideas and learning what other people are doing.
I think that's great advice.
So, when participating in a mastermind group, how can authors get the most out of their experience?
I think that I feel like there's been a lot of, hey guys, a lot of just talking to the camera. I know we love to learn all of the things all at once. If you are taking multiple courses at the same time you're in a mastermind group, at the same time you're trying to launch your first Kickstarter or whatever, um, it can be too much. I think the first thing you do is you clear space for it. Whenever I've had online conferences, which I know you've crushed it at, Elena, and whenever I've had in-person conferences, I tell people that they need to write in their planner when they're going to have implementation time from what they've learned from this event, or else it will just be another thing to add to their to-do list that they never get done. It
Yeah.
needs to be spaced out. And you need to do the exact same thing for a mastermind group. You need to have implementation time built in. You need to do everything you can to actually apply some of the things. Not all the things are going to be for you, as you just mentioned in your answer, Elena, but you need some time to implement, and you need to be open to trying things. If you say, well, I'm never gonna like that's for you, I'm never gonna try it, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, you don't necessarily have the opportunity to grow. You need to have some malleability, because there is a chance, and I've adopted this philosophy, if the thing this person is doing might be better than the way I'm doing it, I want to at least try it to see if it works for me. And if it doesn't, oh well. But if it does, hooray, that means reaching more people, that means possibly more royalties. And so if without that implementation time, without that willingness to try things, you may not be able to get as much out of a mastermind group as you'd hope.
Yeah, that's for sure. You might not.
So, last question. Last year, Elena, you posted in your group about author modes. What mode are you here in the middle of 2025? And how can an author decide on their mode?
So I did. I posted modes. And I was in enough mode because I
Mm,
think, like I said, the constant go, go, go of things that only really lasts in your career for a while. And
yeah.
then you have to go, what am I doing here? And can I continue at this pace for, years and years and years? Because I want to have a career for years and years and years. So you kind of ebb and flow throughout different periods in your author career of starting out and growth and trying this thing and that thing and doing all kinds of stuff. But we never talk as authors about when enough is enough. And so that's kind of
Mm,
what my post was about. And I still feel like I'm in enough mode.
yeah.
I feel pretty good about that, but I'm also moving sort of into experimentation mode is what I'm calling it. I have
Nice.
three really active pen names, and one of them does really well and the other two do okay.
Yeah.
And I've tried different things and I've tried this and I've tried that and I've experimented here and there and everywhere, and I just am not sure that those names are really worth it for me
Mm,
to continue moving forward year after year after year.
yeah.
So I've been experimenting with other things, different lengths of books, different genres of books, some other things that I've wanted to write for like 3 or 4 years now and never have time because I'm doing these, three names. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of in this experimentation mode where I would like to write something a little bit different than I have traditionally done, which may require a different name, and sort of keep these two names. I mean, obviously they have books out and I can promote backlists, as I've been doing, but do I really need to write more books for them that
Mm,
sell okay, but not, super amazing?
right.
So I kind of have been in a little bit of evaluation mode, a little bit of experimentation mode, a little bit of, I want to keep having enough, but I need to kind of do something different to keep having enough and to maintain my interest in my own career.
Right.
So I think sometimes we don't talk about that either, with authors is, do you even like what you're doing? Because
Right.
if you don't, it's really hard to do it year, more years. Like
Yeah.
there has to come a time when you're like, I really enjoy doing what I'm doing. And the things that I don't enjoy, I'm going to get rid of. I'm just going to prune those and maybe replace them with something else or maybe not. But I'm kind of in several modes right now. They kind of all start with an E.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
E3.
Yeah, E3.
I love that you brought up just this concept that we are allowed to question if we still like what we're doing.
Mhm.
It is very, very important, and I'm glad you brought that up. So let's get into the question of the week here. So we need to figure out one question to ask. It could be about the author modes, it could be about the automation and other things. What general concept or question,
Mhm.
Elena, do you think you want to ask or
I
we
would
want to ask?
I would love to see people's tips for automation. What are they automating and how are they doing it? Like I would love to see that. Maybe I could do a better job.
Oh, I love it. What are you doing? And how are you doing it?
Yeah.
Awesome. What are your tips for automation in your author career? What are you
Mhm.
doing and how are you doing it?
Yeah.
You can answer that question of the week over at the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group. Definitely, folks, check out Indie Inspiration with Elena Johnson over on Facebook. Go to authorelenajohnson.com to read her many, many, many books. Elena, it has been so great to have you here today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Yay, good. Folks, we're going to have another wonderful co host next week. So stay tuned for who that is. For Elena, I'm Bryan. Have a great week of book selling, everybody. And we'll be back for episode 585. Bye.